Alright, welcome to our next episode of our PropertyLimBrothers Seller Series. Today we're going to talk about this very famous and interesting hot topic called home staging. Let's go. So what is home staging? Now, this term might seem unfamiliar 3 years ago, but today is a very, very common term when it comes to selling a home in Singapore. There are many different connotations for home staging in the western part of the world. People call it home dressing, some people call it home staging. A little bit about the back history. It all started during the 1970s where the first idea got developed. An interior designer called Barb Schwartz crossed over into residential real estate sales. So she recognized the challenge of selling a home that wasn't appropriately maintained or decorated. She also recognized the challenge in communicating this idea to home sellers without offending them. However, she proceeded to drive the concept of creating an environment, hence the name staging, and to get the buyers emotionally connected to the homes. So home staging is about 50 years old now. It is very, very established and a common norm, especially in the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. Of course, now it's also quite a common norm, I would say, in Singapore. So when it comes to home staging, we need to know importantly if it's an all-effective method in selling a property in today's market. What is the most important objective? How can home staging help us sell a home as a home seller? And is it even worth the effort and the cost? So to answer all these questions, let's first talk about the main objective of selling a property. Now, the main objective are twofold as a home seller if you're planning to put your home in the market. Firstly, as a home seller, we all want to sell our home at a good price because we only got this particular property and there's only one chance to exit to find the right buyer that appreciates the home and also is willing to pay and take over the home at its potential, actual, maximum current value. Secondly, we all want to sell the place in a reasonable amount of time frame and not having the property in the market for too long because it can get very, very tiring, frustrating if the property gets stuck in the marketing process for a fair bit of time. So nobody will want to put their property in the market for say 2 to 3 years because it's extremely tiring. Most home sellers want to be able to exit within a 3 to 6 months reasonable time frame. So if it's about price and the period involved in marketing as well, then we need to understand the point of view as a home buyer. Because to know your audience is the first step in successful selling. Now, we always advise our clients that the moment you decided to plan and put your property in the market, your property becomes your product. And to sell a product effectively, in today's market, 4 things have changed compared to 10 years ago. Now, you know the old school of thought is that, why do I have to bother to stitch up the place, to repaint the place, since the buyers are going to renovate anyway? And yes, about 15 years ago, when we started in real estate, you can literally sell empty homes very, very easily. But however, in today's context, things have changed a lot. Now, buyers and sellers are both savvy. Everyone have access to information, transaction prices, what choices are there in the market. It's easier to do comparisons compared to the past. There are also more choices now when it comes to buying properties. More developments have been built over the years and thus more choices in the resale market as well as the new launch market. There is also something called the HGTV effect. And of course, fourth thing is that social media is now part and parcel of our lives. So because of this, we need to understand that it's important to differentiate your property among the rest of the competition that you have in your neighborhood, because you not only have to compete with other similar properties, you also have to compare with others in the resale market and the new launch market as well. So with the main objective in mind and also the change in buyers' perception and behavior, let's have a look at the reasons and the top reasons why home staging is extremely important today when it comes to selling real estate. So first reason, home staging increases opportunities. Now, don't get me wrong, having home staging in an empty property or changing the furniture, furnishings, and etc. is to a context not to manipulate the buyer. It is meant to help the buyers and show them what the space will actually look like and feel like once they move in. So let's take a step back. Now, when you visit a show flat by the developer, does the developer show you an empty show flat? The answer is no, because effort is being put in to showcase the right furnitures in terms of theme, size, dimension, different placement style, as well as other accessories like carpet, tabletop items, photo frames, artwork, standing lamps, the right room colors, wallpapers. And why do they do that to that extent is because of the keyword first impressions. And first impressions cannot be understated. Now, if you've not seen any of our videos in PropertyLimBrothers YouTube channel on first impression, then you should check out our vlog on why I learned about the importance of first impressions at a very young age, and it almost cost me my wife. The link is right here. Alright, back to home staging. How many times have we also heard the following comments is that when buyers comes for viewing, they feel that this is not the right house for them, or comments from buyers like, hey, I feel that the space is too small, the bedroom is too small, the living space, I'm not sure if I can put in a coffee table or a sofa set that I already have, or can this table and the dining space fit in an 8-seater, or it seems like this part of the house seems a bit dark, the entire space seems very narrow. Now all these are technically wasted opportunities because the buyer that have came in could be the buyer that would have bought the place if you had solved all these concerns beforehand. And why do you want to waste the opportunity to impress the buyer on this that actually took time and effort to physically come down on a weekend to view your property after they have viewed it on the portals, or maybe they have seen the home tour videos? Now the most important purpose of allowing buyers to come and view your property physically, of course, is to have a successful sale. And the main objective is to get offers, and most importantly multiple offers, and sell it at the best possible price in the current market time frame. And point number 2 is that don't look down on the impact of first impressions and emotional connection, because we are all human beings. We have senses and emotions. We see, we feel, we hear, we smell, we touch, which is why if you observe what you yourself do during a home viewing when you visit a property or show flat, we love to stand in the space, we love to see, feel, smell, touch the furnitures and the fittings, pull out the drawers. We want to walk around and try to visualize that if this were to be my home, how would I feel? Will I be happy? Will my kids be happy? And in your mind, we can already visualize our kids running around, loving the space where they are going to play and study and sit. How is my wife or my spouse going to feel when she cooks in the kitchen? Or how is my hubby going to enjoy the living area reading the news? We're all creatures of emotions, and research has shown that it is actually very daunting for someone to come into an empty space because it robs them of any form of emotional connection, and it actually stresses the buyers to visualize themselves after an extremely busy week at work. If a home is not properly prepared or staged up or decorated or decluttered, it makes it much harder for potential buyers to like the particular property. Now, research has also shown that the first 8 seconds is very, very important when a buyer walks into an apartment. If a buyer walks into a superbly cluttered or totally vacant versus one that is tastefully done with home staging and home styling on the same level, same size, same kind of property in the same project, which one do you think has a higher chance to make an impression? Is it the cluttered one or is it the home stage one? Now you see, however, buying a property has 2 internal decision-making mechanisms that goes into the buyer's mind. First is that buyers will feel with emotions first, and then they will justify with logic afterwards. That's why when making first impressions with homes, it is extremely important to have the emotional connection first, because without emotional connection as a first impression, buyers will then not shortlist this property. Only after shortlisting would the buyer head home, talk to their bankers about the valuation, do homework on the past transaction, do more fact-finding about this project, then they will make an offer. So always remember, emotional connection and first impression comes first, facts will come later on, or sometimes it will come at the same time, especially if the buyers are buying the place for their own stay. Of course, if we are talking about investors, then investors usually mostly purely looks at numbers. But nowadays, of course, with ABSA and cooling measures in place, most of the buyers in the market, they are hunting for a home to live in. Now, if someone disconnects or have a bad impression, it is also very difficult to reverse that fact afterwards with the buyer. So why put your property at such a disadvantage by not doing anything? Third reason, home staging does help in speed and price. So is it true that home staging really helps? Yes, it does. If not, show flats by developers would just be an empty space with air cons, kitchen cabinets, and a sink and shower head only. And why do developers want to spend so much money to renovate and stage up with good looking and best looking furniture? Then they not only stage, they spend money to renovate as well. So we are only talking about staging here. We're not talking about renovation, not to worry. And yes, check out our playlist on homes that we have staged up and sold them successfully at this link right here. These are all the homes that we have sold with home staging done. It has helped both sellers and buyers tremendously. It creates so much more eyeballs on the property in terms of viewing frequency, increases the response of viewership online and physical viewings. And buyers even commented that this is really useful for them because they can visualize the space so much better, and they already know how the space feels with the sofa there, with the dining table here, with the queen bed and the side tables. So it takes away a lot of guesswork that buyers will have to put in themselves, to cringe themselves to visualize, saying, hey, can I put in a super single or queen bed? Is the dining space too small? Can our sofa fit in? With the guesswork being removed, buyers will then feel more comfortable, they feel more at ease, they feel more happy, emotional, feel good effect takes place, chances of making an offer increases. And so when more eyeballs and inquiries comes in online, more physical viewings happens, better impressions are set when buyers turn up to fill the actual space. And all this increases the speed of the sale and the possibility of a better market price. Fourth reason, staging reduces lowballs offers. Now, staging is no small effort. It takes planning, coordination, touch-ups as well, sometimes repainting. If there's a paint crack at the ceiling, that gets touched up also. If there are a lot of clutter, that has to be packed as well. And because of this effort, the true potential and innate value of the place and interior is expanded and showcased. And that helps to bring out the possibility of better offers. It prevents lowballing effect because there are very, very few things now on the interior side that buyers can pick on. And of course, if you're talking about inherent factors like what kind of view does the balcony have, whether it's a pool view, unblocked view, or road facing, which level, etc., etc., those inherent things we cannot change. But internally, home staging takes care of the internal portion. It helps the buyer to appreciate the property better and easier for them to make comparisons. So those are the 4 points to help you determine if home staging is necessary and whether is it worth it when it comes to selling your property in Singapore. I hope that this first part of our home staging portion in our seller series will help you to become a better home seller. And even if you're a potential buyer watching this, it's good for you as well because the moment you buy a property, you will also become a home seller someday down the road. This is Melvin Lim from PropertyLimBrothers. As always, happy to show you the place and we'll see you on the next episode of our seller series. Take care. Perfect. Okay. Okay, ready?
What is going on?
And just because... Oh, okay. So touch-ups. Thanks.